Okay, to start things off, I have a very hyperactive puppy beside me, so if the camera moves at any time during this video, I apologize. It's probably actually moving now. I don't know. Settle down! I don't know why it's so hyper. I just took him out. Stay. I've caught you. Stay. Okay, so I haven't read much since my last wrap up, but it's been so long since I've read Ready Player One, and I haven't talked about it really any at all. I think I read it back in July, and I just don't want... Oh, right, the reading rush. I read a lot of books then and did that wrap up separately, so all those books aren't on this list. Oh, right, I remember now. Oh my god, that throws me off a lot, because I was like, how could it be July? I know I'm up to, like, I'm ahead of my Goodreads reading goal. It's like, how could I possibly not have done another wrap up, or like have 10 books to talk about in this wrap up? But that's why. So to start things off, Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. So Ready Player One, I watched the movie like right after I read the book, and I really did enjoy the movie. There were a lot of differences that I was okay with, such as the first task in the movie being a race, other than being you have to break a Latin word down to actually figure out where to start to find the first key, which wasn't bad. I really love that aspect, that it was somewhere he could go, like, that, you know, it was technically paid for him to go, you know, considering his family situation. But I just really liked the fact that the first key in the movie was a race, and it was just something simple, but at the same time, I wouldn't have been able to figure out and do. The changes that made me livid was the fact that Artemis got a lot of Percival's, like, roles that he was meant to do, such as, I can't remember what they call the workers. I really want to reread the book now, but this is like a 600-page book, if you guys don't know. It says 300 pages, but the tiny text in this book makes it about 600 pages. And I'm not even joking, there is an edition online that's 608 pages, I believe. So, it's a 600-page book. I can't remember the name of, like, the workers that, like, they have an outstanding bill or charge or something to them, and they are forced to work in the... Is it a factory? Would it technically be called a factory? What would it be called? I don't know. I'm gonna call it a factory. But the point is, it was supposed to be Percival in that scene, not Artemis, and it makes me mad. We're also not supposed to know Artemis's true identity, ever. It never comes into play in the book. I mean, I wish it did. I mean, that would have been super duper nice. I would love, actually, a second book to this series. I don't know what they could do, but I want one. You know, I haven't even looked at all at the notes I wrote down for this book, so let's go to those. Obviously, this is a 5 out of 5 star book. I gave it that rating as soon as I finished it, and it has not changed since. I did go into my notes about how the book was a lot longer than I expected, mainly because of the tiny text, and I also put on here that it didn't help that I stopped periodically to look up any 80s references, and I will say that I did look up quite a bit. I didn't look up them all because this book is chock full of 80s references. I did look up like a handful of them because my sister was born in the 80s. She's obsessed with the 80s music, 80s pop culture, and stuff like that. So some of it I did know, but I didn't know a lot of it, so I did look those up. Anything I couldn't work out with context clues too, I looked up. If the context clues let me know that, hey, this is just a song from this era and it wasn't prominent to really understanding the story, I just let that go. But if it's something like a video game or a reference to a person or something like that, I did stop to look that up. And I pretty much already went over everything else. So, really good book. I can't wait to read more from Ernest Cline. The only book that I have of his is this one, and Armada. So, I don't know if he actually has any more books. I haven't really looked that far into it. I just knew that I had Armada. It's another video game book, so I'm going to probably love it because I love video games. If you guys have any book recommendations for books like this, I really want to know them, because it's not only this book that I loved with virtual reality games and everything. There's a The Eye of Mines I think it's called the Mortal Doctrine series or something like that from James Dashner. I absolutely love those books, and those are all virtual reality. I actually kind of want to reread them now, along with the Maze Runner series. And yeah, guys, I know that James Dashner is a horrible person for doing things that he shouldn't have done, but at the same time, I still really enjoy and love his books. I will steer clear from the Death Cure because major character death. Not gonna spoil it. Pretty sure everybody knows because everybody watched the movies. Point is, if you have any recommendations for a book like this, I do have Warcross by Marie Lu, so you don't have to recommend that one. That one's on my list, but I want to read her other books first. So besides Warcross by Marie Lu, if you have any recommendations for like virtual reality game books, let me know them, because I need them in my life. I read the first 3 Harry Potter books again, and where is it? In these editions, which took frickin' forever because all of the pictures. I am obsessed with all of the pictures all of the time. I didn't mark any in this book that I particularly liked more than the others, but I honestly cannot wait to get the my god, what is it called? What is the 4th book called? What is it called? Harry Potter and the... How? The Goblet of Fire. Oh my god. Why did I forget the name of that book? I can't... That's the reason why I stopped at the 3rd book. Because the 4th book, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, is coming out in illustrated edition in October, which I am super duper excited for. Especially now that I remember the frickin' name of the book. But I do wonder if it's going to be like a whole book. Like, not a part 1 and part 2. It's gonna be the whole thing. I mean, it doesn't say it's a part 1, but it's a fairly large book. Although I have a feeling that people may get outraged if they try to sell these in parts, because that seems... Some people will probably see that as a money grab. I, however, think it will probably be necessary, because I'm just gonna grab the Lightning Thief Illustrated Edition. But these books can't handle the amount of pages that is necessary and add illustrations in that the Harry Potter books have. So, I mean, if they don't make a part 1, part 2, they'll probably just not put as many illustrations in the book. And if that's the case, I will be super duper sad, because I love illustrations in books, especially when they're like this. I mean, I haven't flipped through this book, so I'm not going to show you any like real illustrations, but this is the inside cover. It's pretty. I really wish they'd make the rest of these as well, because I'd reread the series and love them so much more. I say that like I don't reread the series periodically, and I don't love it more and more each time. But, of course, 5 out of 5 stars on all the Harry Potter books. I love the artwork in the last book as well. Very colorful. I love the contrasts of all the black pages. Those are absolutely my favorite. Next, I read the second book to the March Girl series, The Broken World. Now, The March Girl, I gave a 4 out of 5 stars when I talked about it, but I dropped that to a 3 stars. This, I feel like, is, what did I put? 3.5 stars. This book I found to be a lot better than The March Girl, with the fact that they took out the love triangle, which I am super duper happy with, because I hate love triangles, especially when they were done in the way The March Girl was done. I will, however, say that I was more invested in Shannon and Merrick's relationship than I was in the main relationship going on. And that's probably because whenever there is romance very prominent in the book, like it's right there staring you in the face, I can't stand it. Much like probably Cassandra Clare's books, where there's like all these main relationships going on, and here I am back in the little corner with the almost never mentioned relationship and shipping it harder than I ever would the other relationships. And yes, I like Julian and Emma's relationship. I mean, a lot of people will say that Julian's like the worst character that she's ever come up with. I like Julian. I find him more complex than most of her characters, and that's why he's one of my favorite characters. I like him a lot better than Emma, but at the same time, Ty and Kit are my OTP. Not even an established relationship, and I find it a lot more interesting to read about than the established ones, because I'm trash for them. Then we have The Fragile Ordinary by Samantha Young. I actually looked up to see if I'd read any more of her books, and this is actually the first book I've read of hers, and I loved it. And yes, this is an ARC copy. I don't have the actual finished edition, and I probably won't buy the finished edition. I'm not going to say I won't, but I probably won't. Now, this book I did read at the same time I was reading The Broken World. Or let's say I was about 144 pages into this before I picked up The Broken World, and then I finished this book and then jumped back into this one. It's the first time I've ever done that intentionally. Actually, I think intentionally or not, that's the first time I've done that. But it didn't really take away from my enjoyment of the book, which was strange. I don't think that's something I'll be doing frequently, but it was a nice change of pace. But this book, I think, was longer than it needed to be. And in some aspects it felt like insta-love because there were time jumps of a few weeks and a couple months and stuff like that where I wanted to learn more about her home life and everything. It kind of steered cleared from that for the most part and kind of just stuck with her school and her friends, and all that was fine and everything, but at the same time I wanted more of what made her her. But if I can put myself in the character's life, going through what she's going through and living the way she's living and everything, and being socially awkward as I am and she is, if I can put myself through all of that and see myself going in the same direction as her, then that already makes the book a 3 out of 5 stars for me, because that rarely happens. Usually the characters do something drastic and stupid and I just can't stand them because it's so out of character for them. But this one I felt was completely on character, completely relatable. That's why I give it a 3 out of 5 stars, and I really want to pick up more of Samantha Young's books. Now, that probably will not happen for a while now because I'm not a big contemporary reader and I have so many contemporaries I already need to get to, but she's definitely on my authors to try again list. But continuing on with this wrap up, we're going to get to an author that I plan to never pick up another book from. And I DNF'd this book, and I got 172 pages in. And I just said, to hell with maybe someday. I also read Maybe Not by Colleen Hoover too. After I didn't complete this book, I jumped into this because I had already paid $11 for this book, and it's so skinny that I just maybe I'll care about Warren and Bridget's relationship, but I didn't because it was all basically based around sex that I didn't really care for. Okay, but I tabbed this a little bit, and that's all I'm going to say about the book basically, because I was expecting it to get better the further I read, and it just didn't, so I stopped reading. My first tab says, is anyone really stupid enough to punch like this? If you guys do not understand what I'm talking about, she punched her roommate and her ex-boyfriend within the first 3 pages, and she's talking about how her parents never taught her not to punch like this, with her thumb inside her fist. Who's stupid enough to punch like this? You punch like this. You grip your hand. Does anyone clench their fist like this? No, you clench it like this. This does not feel natural. This feels natural. Just punch the effer with it. This is going to break your thumb. Guys looking at me like, what the hell is wrong with you? But it seriously pissed me off. How is someone stupid enough to actually need to be told the right way to punch? Little kids, I can see maybe 2 or 3 years old punching like this. I don't see a grown adult woman punching like it. No, you punch like this. Put brass knuckles on if you need to. If you really need for added effect. But no one can possibly be that stupid. This was a pointless chapter. It absolutely did nothing for us other than to get the characters all close and lovey-dovey, even though one was recently out of a very long relationship and the other one is in a long relationship as well. I think he's been, dating his girlfriend for 2 or 3 years now or more, and he's moving in on someone else. My last tab on here is, why have you told her after knowing her for 3 weeks but not his girlfriend or brother? Okay, what was this about? Oh, yeah, there was this... Yeah, the whole story about his father and whatnot, he never told his girlfriend about that. And he never told his brother about that, even though his brother was a part of it. Why would you tell this girl you've known for all of 3 weeks and barely actually know her this story? It made absolutely no sense. And even after that, I still read about this much of the book until they pretty much kissed, and then like it just got to the point where it's like, okay, I am not okay with cheating as a personal pet peeve, I guess. I don't know, but I don't get all hot and bothered by people cheating on each other, and I really don't care to read it in books, because that's why I never read Stephanie Perkins, Anna and the French Kiss, Isla and the Girl Next Door, and all that, because I heard that there was a lot of cheating in those books, and I didn't want to have any part of that. And I would rant for probably about another 20 minutes about how much I hated this book. But my battery's dying, so the last thing I'm going to say is the fact that these books both got 1 out of 5 stars. They have an overabundance of 5 stars that I feel like they don't deserve, but I could probably say that about all of her books, because if any of her books have anything to do with cheating or the horrible relationships that is going on, like these, I think is vanilla compared to her other books, at least from what I hear. So I don't understand the hype around her books at all. So 1 stars, didn't like them, never picking up another one of her books. I value my time more than that. That is it for this video. Kai has finally calmed down, so I think it's time for Mama to go have some peace and quiet. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, bye!